I've always liked the way the edge of plywood looks, and I had a bunch left over, so I thought I'd make some coasters with a little basket weave pattern. I started by cutting the strips out on my miter saw, and quickly realized that there was going to be a lot of tear out in this, but it didn't matter. I wasn't really concerned with how they were going to look. It was more of just an experiment, and I'd see how things go. I realized that I cut the strips too wide and the pattern I wanted wouldn't work out, so I ripped them all down to squares on my table saw. After the table saw, I took all the strips over to the sander and sanded down all four sides in the end. There's going to be a lot of sanding. You can't really use a planer with plywood because the strips are so thin, and I'm guessing you just tear a layer off. I laid all the strips out and arranged them the way they wanted to get ready for the glue up. I'm actually surprised that I did this correctly and didn't script the pattern since there's so many pieces to work with. I made sure to use cauls so I wouldn't have to do any excessive sanding, and since you can't use a planer, you don't want them to be too out of line. I also don't have a planer, so the less sanding I have to do, the better. I did the glue up in two phases, so attaching the clamps is the first set and removing the clamps is the second set. Then I tried to chisel off the excess glue, but I was chipping out all the plywood, so I just sanded them again and just sanded them until they were flat. Then I glued them all up again. After the glue dried and I removed the clamps, I took them back over to the sander one more time to get all four surfaces flat. It actually didn't take as long as I thought. I did a pretty good job with the glue up, and I was pretty happy. And then the next part was pretty fun, getting to slice them out. It was like slicing out pieces of bread, but it was just a big chunk of wood. I decided to tape up the entire block to try and reduce tear out, but the tape seemed to make the tear out worse, so I cut out a few and ended up removing the tape. At this point, I realized there was nothing I could do about the tear out, and I just have to keep cutting them out and hope for the best. I gave them all 3 coats of polyacrylic in an attempt to give them some sort of waterproofing. I don't actually plan on using these. However, if you would like to purchase these coasters from the video as is, I whipped up a little stand, and there'll be a link to my Etsy shop, which I created specifically for this video. They don't look that great since there's some tear out on the sides, but I thought someone might want them, so if you're interested, visit my shop.